Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm gonna keep going. We're gonna do part 2. And there's gonna be multiple parts to this because my plan is to get you fully vested in preparing, okay? Long-term preparing. So I'm gonna break each of the sections down today, over this series, even not just all today, but my plan on the videos being about 20-30 minutes long maybe, and then I'll upload them to video. I will do some more lives if you want me to. You just need to tell me in the comments below. I also would like for you to engage in the comments below, because I want to know what you're doing. I want to know what you have done since our first conversation, which was just Friday. So we're on day 4. Have you done anything at all to prepare? Did you even if you just went and looked through, like, where are my weak spots, right? So we're gonna start with water because it's such a big topic. And I shared some things with you the other day about filling your bathtub up, filling up your water catchment systems, a trash can, something. Fill up pitchers. I listened to some people who were out of North Carolina, and pre-storm, they did, as soon as they realized, like, so some people didn't realize that the storm had shifted. That's what I'm gathering. And some people did hear it, heeded the warning, but it was too late to get out, right? So they immediately started filling up their bathtubs and filling up pots of water so that they could boil, or that they had to drink, or whatever that was, right? So these are people who didn't prepare long term like we're talking about, but just know that these things are still important in the immediate days before the storm, okay? Or the immediate moments before a storm. The last thing you should do is fill your bathtub up, okay? So we're gonna talk about water. Look, I'm just gonna tell you how it works for us, and then you can bounce off that however you do it. I don't have a filtration system that is operable in my house. So I have one on my fridge, but in a grid down, guess what's not working? My power. So I have a pitcher that automatically sits in and it refills. It does not at my house because I have no water line to my refrigerator. It's a 100-year-old house. It's all process. And I just got my fridge a while back. And that was one of the features that I really liked, was that you could put the water in this pitcher. So I fill it with a jug of water and put it in the fridge, and it's just always cold in the door. But fill containers, fill jars, make tea, whatever, in the days preceding, okay? The moments preceding. We're talking about hydration here, okay? So I'm gonna look at my notes so I can stay a little more focused, because otherwise I kind of bounce all over the place and squirrel, and yeah. So we talked about some 5-gallon containers, those great big jugs that you put in water coolers. But since I have spoken to a very good friend in Florida, and she watched our preparedness video, and she said, I love what you did, it was great. And she said, we are always prepared. And she said, in fact, we are the people in this last storm who helped. I want to say it was, y'all, I can't remember the names of all the storms, but the one that came through last year in Florida, and it was so devastating, right? And so they had enough on hand that they were able to feed their neighbors some. And of course, everybody's like cleaning out their fridges and stuff, but I don't want to talk a lot about food, but there's ways to do this too as a community. So on the waterfront, she told me that they bought on Amazon, and I will link it in the PDF so that it's available, and you can see it, or you can just go to Amazon and look. But there are these, it's in my phone, and I can't look at it right now, but all the way up to like 120-gallon collapsible bags, right? So she told me she has 5-gallon collapsible bags that they fill with water pre-storm. So they have 25 gallons of water ready to roll before the storm ever hits. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. And she wanted me to share that too. She gave me a lot of great ideas also. Some of the things is on my list, but some of the details are not on my list because I'm not there yet. So listen, if people are telling you how they prepare in those major disaster areas, you should listen. So think about that. Collapsible water containers, whatever size you can handle. We talked about getting like the bigger one and just filling it out by the barns so that we can water all the animals. 100 gallons. I mean, you don't have to. We have 100-gallon tanks that are there, which we would fill prior to the storm as well if they weren't already. And of course, top everybody off. But then you have that extra 100 gallons there too, to continue to feed the animals. Just put it up outside right where you need it. And then 100 gallons of water sitting in your house is big stuff, so think that through, right? Anybody's floors caving in. My 100-year-old house, I don't think could handle a 100-pound water tank sitting on it. So maybe it could. Maybe I underestimate it. Anyway, so that's one thing. And then there's also individual little pouches of water that are like 1 gallon each. They're collapsible. The good thing about the collapsible is you fill them at the storm, and when you're done, you dry them out and you put them back into your storage space. They're not just sitting around all the time holding water. So that's another thing that came up recently, and I love that idea, so I thought I would share that with you. Let's see. The cases of bottled water. We always have cases of bottled water here because we are on city water. And our pipes are old, and the water's just not pleasing all the time. Like I'll wash dishes in it, and of course we shower in it and stuff like that. It's not tragic, but it's not. I don't want to drink it all the time. So we use water bottles. So I always have that on hand, and I will tell you this. When I do my weekly shopping, that's one of the things that's on my weekly list because it's a perpetual issue. I will be looking at investing into like a Berkey water system or something like that, hopefully in the future. Just hasn't been a top priority for me, but I actually think it probably should be. So Berkey makes a great 2-gallon water system. 2 gallons is not a lot, so think that through, right? Like maybe you filter a bunch of water pre-storm, like just keep running it through the filter and emptying it and do it again and again the week before. So we're going to talk about prepping in the day that you hear there's a storm coming. Hopefully it's a week or so. Immediately start making sure of what your water stock looks like. Immediately. Sometimes you can maybe you could order these things on Amazon in the week before. They're not that expensive, but they are. Okay, so look, I can sometimes drop a couple $100 and not feel it. And sometimes I can't drop $20 without feeling it. So I get you. Do what you can do within your means. Okay. Again, we talked about the gallon jugs. Here's something that she shared with me also that I knew, but not fully through the whole full circle. If you buy gallon jugs of water, or like we do the 2.5, throw one of those in your freezer pre-storm. Let it get good and solid. It'll do 2 things. Number 1, it will help keep your freezer cold. You can move it into your refrigerator, and it'll help keep the fridge space colder. So here's my thought. So we went through the summer, early spring actually. Our fridge went out, and we were in the. I didn't want to just. We looked on the marketplace and. We looked at some places, and I was like, you know what? If I'm going to invest in an appliance, that's my forever appliance, I'm going to spend some money on it. Okay, so I did. But what I learned in that process was so my fridge would run, it just wouldn't stay cold. So I took a bunch of stuff from my freezer and I put it into the fridge, stuff that we were going to eat because the freezer was still frozen. So I would take stuff out for the week, put it in the fridge. It would help keep the fridge cold. We also got a cooler that we used for milk or things that needed to be cold, like mayonnaise, cheese, all that kind of stuff that you don't want to get warm or get to room temperature. But like the condiments and all that kind of stuff, and even bottles of water that were, a little cooler than room temperature, we left in there. But if you take these gallons of water that you have in your freezer and you move them to your fridge space, put your items close to it. You can drop it down in a cooler if you want to. Just small cooler with just a few condiments in there. You know, your basic things, your butter that you don't want to melt, all that kind of stuff. So, and then she said this, which, right, like mind-blowing moment, which shouldn't have been, but it was. But I don't think we know until we know. Like, right, we know we need to do something, but we don't always think it through all the way. But she said when it, you know, then when it thaws, you have drinking water that's cold too. So, bravo. If you have a couple of those in your freezer, you get a couple days of 1 gallon that's cold water to drink and helps keep your fridge cold, okay? Your freezers, without talking a great deal about that, because again, our focus is water, are gonna be good. I'm gonna say 3 days. If you do not open them, they should, depending on how full they are. If you have a little bit of stuff in there, maybe not so much. But if they're full, which you could fill with water. If you're not full on food, fill it with water. And not, you know what I'm talking about. Don't do crazy things, but you know, throw yourself some gallons of water in there and let them freeze in the days before, okay? It actually takes up space in there. It'll help keep things cold, and maybe hopefully keep everything from spoiling. So we, I may be about done with the water, because again, it's, you know, like the things that you fill in your big containers or your bathtub or gallon milk jugs that you've filled after you've used them and cleaned them out and stuck them on a shelf. Those are also good ones to freeze just for that purpose, just for keeping your food cold. It's just really about bringing it full circle, and there's so many details and so many ways that people have learned to go back to sort of the basics that if you haven't experienced it, it's very hard to share the info. But I really appreciated it from my friend who just wanted to help get the word out, right? Be the person that's not the burden. And now she didn't, I don't know if I said this already, but in the last storm, I think I did, in the last storm, they were able to provide water for their friends because they were so prepared throughout the year. So be that person, right? Be that guy. All right, I think I'm done with water, honestly. I don't feel like we can talk a lot more about it. It's really just stock up on it. Make sure that make sure you have that water for just cleaning stuff. And speaking of cleaning stuff, I did not mention this the other night, but I would get some spray bottles of bleach, some bleach wipes, that kind of stuff, because if you don't have a lot of water, you don't want to use a lot of soap and water to clean up your mess. Spray down some bleach, let it sit for 10 minutes, wipe it off. You have decontaminated an area, okay? Not that you don't want to wash it, but I'm just saying, if you don't have water and you don't have a lot of water to spare, don't use it for the things that you don't need it for, okay? So get you some bleach products. I think the next thing, because food is so big, I'm probably not going to go into that and be able to keep it under the time frame that I want. So in the months before you need it, start stocking up on your water immediately now. Yesterday's too late, okay? 4 days ago when we talked about this, you should start. I'm gonna beat it to death. Like, I'm not gonna quit saying it. Put water in your house. So, to your means, okay? If you can only afford a gallon of water a month, do that. And then also wash out your milk jugs and make sure you label it that it's not pure water, right? Or it's not drinking water. It's cleaning water or flushing water, or whatever you want to call it, and put it on the shelf also. Okay, put one in the freezer. You could drink it, like if it's the water that you drink out of your faucet every day, put it in the freezer. I mean, if it's not taking up too much space, do that. I don't have room for a lot of water to just be hanging out in my freezers, but I know some people do. Not everybody stocks the way that I stock yet, but my goal is to get you there. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that few days before the storm. Like you've been told it's coming. We don't know how big it is yet, but it is going to be impactful. Go look at your stocks. Go look at what you have on hand right now. Whether you've been preparedness stocking, or you just, that's what you have in your pantry right there. Like, go look at what you have for food. Maybe you got a couple packs of chicken breasts. Maybe you got a pack of ground beef. Maybe you have a couple frozen pizzas. So in the days and the weeks before, a week before the storm, I will do a few things. One of those things is clean my house and start prepping some meals in advance so they're already cooked, including cookies, snacks, brownies. Don't be afraid to make that stuff, because we are already stressed, right? So let's just have, if we want to have a snack at night, or your babies want to have a snack at night, make sure they have it. Okay, whip up some cookies, and have them ready, right? Just it's more about resilience in the storm also. So in the aftermath, right? So before you're building that stock up, and you're making sure you have enough food. So if you have a pack of burger, and I'll say this, so we have a lot of 1 pound packages of venison in our freezer that we really need to go through, because first of all, they're going to be a year old, which I don't worry too much about. We get everything vacuum sealed, so it holds pretty well. You get a good 2 years out of it that way. I would invest in a vacuum sealer if you have not already, even if it's the little handheld ones that you, like a flat iron, whatever it is, so you can seal your food up a little bit. But especially when you get into deeper preparing, okay? So we have a lot of 1 pound packages of venison, and I needed to start going through it. And I always like to have prepared meals on hand. Sort of like, instead of going and buying a frozen dinner, I'll kind of make one myself. You know, like one day I took out 10 pounds of ground venison. I threw it all into a bowl, and then I salt and peppered it. But then I broke it down into smaller things, and I think I took 3 pounds, and I made taco meat and cooked it in the pan with all the seasonings, and then I froze it in 3 separate containers. Because for me, like, we get so busy out here that I really just like to go, you know what, we're gonna have tacos tonight. I'm gonna pull this out, I'm gonna heat it up and put it on some tortillas. I may have to pick up some lettuce or tomato if I don't have any, but you know what, I'll eat a taco with just cheese on it, and I always have cheese. Cheese is my jam. So another batch of it, I took and made a whole pot of spaghetti and meat sauce. No spaghetti, just the meat sauce, I guess. Just the spaghetti sauce with meat in it. And I put them into individual containers, and I froze them, put them in the fridge, the freezer. So, for convenience. That's my convenience food. That's my eating out. Because we don't have anything really close to us. So, you know, on a night or a day that I'm really busy. And so I'm going to talk to you about post-storm real quick. After a storm, you're already stressed, right? Because you just went through it. You probably didn't sleep good. Everybody's cranky. There's silence. There's no air moving. In order to sustain in a semi-functioning way, you need to be able to rest and focus on the emergent situation. Like, maybe all your trees are down, right? Maybe you have a window that blew out. Maybe you have floodwater in your house, and you need to be able to focus on that. You're going to be busier in the aftermath of a big storm than you are normally on a Saturday afternoon when you're just hanging out at home, okay? So, preparing these foods in advance are a good thing, okay? So here's another thing to do. When you make a meal, like let's say you make chili, and you double the batch. Take the half batch, put it in the freezer. That's still preparation. That's preparation for convenience, but it's also preparation for a storm. You don't have to eat it, just eat it within a year. Make sure you label it. Please don't think that you're going to remember what it is, because I am so guilty of that. We have more mystery freezer food, and we've gotten really good about it over the last couple of years. But you know, like our first year, just, I'm going to freeze this, I'm going to freeze this, I'm going to freeze this. And then not know what it is. And go to get it out, and you're like, I can't tell what it is. So label everything and date it. Date it. So in those days before, you're going to prep your water, you're going to check your preps, you're going to make sure you have what you need. You're going to make sure you have enough food in your house on hand for 3 days. Okay? Post-storm. If you need to run to the grocery store, go early. As soon as you find out there's a storm coming, okay? Go to the store. And get your fresh fruits or whatever. So, I'm not sure when every time I do this, my dog's got to talk. I do have a delivery coming today. That might be what it is. They're just letting me know. Anyway, so there's that. Pre-prep your meals. And I don't know if I said this because I've kind of done a couple takes on this video, but put hot dogs in your freezer. That is, you can cook that over an open fire. Kids love it. And listen, a hot dog every now and then tastes lovely. But put some cans of chili. So maybe all you need to do when a storm comes is go pick up some hot dogs. Put them in your freezer. If you don't need them, great. Leave them there. I do. I'll buy the great big pack from Sam's. And, you know, there's just 2 of us. So I will break that pack down because for us, I don't want to take out, I don't even know how many, maybe 16. I don't want to take out 16 hot dogs for the 2 of us. But I always have some in there because on holidays or weekends when the kids want to come up, there's easily 16 mouths to feed. So that's an easy thing to pull out, and it's cheap and it goes a long way. Okay. So think about those simple things pre-storm, pre-days coming. I know there's sometimes people got to work right up until the storm. Some people got to go out in the storm. As a nurse, that was one of the things I hated, was having to go out in a blizzard. And that happened in 2020 also, and I couldn't get out. And I lived 30 minutes away, and I said, I am not going out on the ice when there are people in that building already and people that live within 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I can't do it. So it's not worth me not coming home or being unsafe or wrecking my car, hurting other people when there's someone there, right? Like, we're just not gonna be stupid about stuff. So know your boundaries too, okay? All right, we got a few more minutes, so I'll keep going. So first thing you're gonna do when you hear there's a storm, check your stock. What do you have on hand? Whether you've prepared or not prepared, what do you have that you can make a meal out of? Do you have breakfast stuff? Do you have snacks? Do you need snacks? Are you going to suffer through? Because you know what? If my money's tight, snacks are not going to be the thing I'm going to get. Right? I'm going to get water. I'm going to get some good sources of nutrition for my family to eat. So be very practical. And if you can splurge a little bit, make sure you got a flashlight, right? Like, if I don't have a flashlight, I'm screwed. So get me some light. Go buy those solar lights. I will list them. I'll do a live again, maybe Friday again when Chris is home, and we will share some items and talk about how we use them. Okay, so that some of them are really inexpensive, but we've had them for a year or 2, some of them, and they work fine. So make sure you have flashlights. Make sure you have batteries if you don't have them. Like, if you haven't started that part of your prep, go pick up it doesn't have to be an expensive pack. You only got to get through 3 days. Get enough. Make sure you have candles, whatever. And remember, I told you the Dollar Tree is your best friend for simple, quick things like that. Okay, make sure your phone's charged. I also have a solar charger for my phone, and when I do more, I'm going to do like a whole series on solar stuff, including a solar generator. So when I get to that, I'll show you that stuff too. Maybe if I have it more handy in my next video, I'll do it as well. Just a little intro to solar. So we covered water today. That was a big topic. And then also just preparing for the actual post-storm resilience in your family. Get everybody comfortable, okay? It's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through it. And listen, everybody pray for Florida, because they're about to get slammed again at this Category 5. We still have power of prayer over storms. Don't forget that. So if we just pray that it decreases and it lessens and it's not as impactful as they say it's going to be, pray protection over them. I've been on the phone with some of my family and friends that have been down, that are down there, and most of them have moved inland and further up if they can. They're just not going to risk this down there. That surge is going to be wicked, and after what we just saw happen, it's not worth it, y'all. So y'all be safe and continue to prep up. Talk to you soon.